Today I want to talk about planning a hike, planning a through hike, what you're going to need, how you need to gear depending on the hike. We're going to go over all the aspects. I've hiked the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Crest Trail, so most of my information will be pertaining to a through hike and what you'll need to accomplish that goal. So let's get into it. Okay, first things first, know your trail. Research your trail. You have to know exactly where you think you're going to be, at which time of year will you be there, what gear you'll need, etc. But know your trail. You need to know exactly where it is, how long it is, what the conditions will be like on that trail. These are all things you really need to research. Without being too particular about a certain trail, I can only give you examples. On the Appalachian Trail last year, when I hiked it, I made sure to coordinate the time of year that I was leaving with the gear that I was using. So I knew right away that I was leaving early in the season. And so I knew I would need warm enough gear to get myself down to about freezing, but also be flexible enough to go up into the 80s or the hundreds if I needed it to. And also don't forget, part of that plan, knowing the trail and knowing what you're up against on that trail, could also involve swapping out that gear. So it's not uncommon, especially on a through hike, to swap gear out, to send some gear home and to pick up other gear depending on the section you're on. On the PCT this past summer, I had to swap out gear as I was switching from the desert section to the mountain section. Is very important. So knowing your trail, knowing exactly what you're up against allows you to choose the gear that you need, allows you to choose the time of year that you want to leave if it pertains to say weather, for example. And yeah, so planning and knowing also let's just continue on that for a second. You've got to know where you're going to be and where you can be. So say you're pulling into a town, you know this town has what you need for this particular thing. It's a good idea to plan around that. If you're on the AT, for example, you have what's called AWOL's AT guide to help you, to show you what you can find in each town, which hostels are there. It gives you a map. It talks at great length about each town. And exactly where you can go, where the outfitters are, where the resupply points are, all of the above. It's a great tool. On the PCT, we have Yogi. Yogi has, this time it's Facebook groups, and you can there's a wealth of knowledge there about the entire trail. It gives you lists of trail angels, conditions, ongoing conditions, live updates practically. They're not live, but they may as well be, telling you exactly what's going on, where people are at any given time. So even if you're on trail, you can contact these groups and or these people and get help. If you need a shuttle, if you need certain things at certain times, they're more than willing to help. So do include you have to give yourself all the ammunition, right? So you've got to be able to know exactly what's available to you, and this will make your hike much more comfortable, much more easy, stress-free, etc. Gear related, before you even leave on your hike, setting up your gear as minimal as possible but also as comfortable as possible. You need to decide, do you want to bring a stove or do you want to cold soak? These are two entirely different things. Cold soaking requires some time, it requires some diligence. Like you start your meals at noon, cold soaking it so that you can eat them at dinner time, versus pulling into camp and just, firing up your stove and heating up water and or cooking. Those are things you're going to have to decide for yourself. Are the weights worth it, carrying the extra weight for a stove? Or do you want to cold soak? A lot of people cold soak. It's ultra light. It's ultra easy, but again, you have to decide for yourself. If you do go with stoves, there's a variety of options. BRS, really super light. Do research it, get into a lot of groups check out, depending on what trail you're on. It's hard for me to be specific if I don't know the trail you're on, but do use every resource you can to get all the information that you can. But more about gear. Choose the pack for the gear, not the other way around. I see so many people make the mistake of buying a pack and then trying to fit everything into that pack, or getting too big a pack or too small a pack. Buy the gear first. Set your gear out, make sure everything's where you want it to be, and then buy the pack. More on this, and I'm just going to share what I did and what I have. I can tell you everything exactly from bottom up, what's in my pack, and or how I would plan my pack. Planning your gear and having the tools for the job are important. Trekking poles are an option. Of course, that's your personal preference, unless you have a trekking pole tent. In my pack, I have my clothing, which I just basically have one change of clothes for day for hiking and one change of clothes for night. That's just so I can get out of my smelly clothes and try to feel like a human being for a little while. And it also saves your quilt or your sleeping bag, depending on that. I use a liner, I use a quilt, and my clothes. Those all go down at the bottom of my pack. Then I have one little bag for electronics. I have a little bigger bag for a ditty bag, which is a catch-all. And there I'll have my toothbrush, I'll have my first aid kit, I'll have various cables like headphones, some first aid stuff. I generally like to keep my first aid stuff outside the pack, but it's a little bit of both. I'm kind of all over the place with that. Then there's my pad, and that's really it for stuff sacks. Then my food goes in, my puffies or my rain gear if I need it that particular day on the outside. I can basically go over every single item in my pack, and you're going to as well. You're going to be able to do that very easily once you've got it, dialed down. Shakedowns. Shakedowns are very important. A shakedown hike is a hike, or if it's a day trip, whatever it is, it's a hike where you go out with the gear and test it. Test it and try to get as close to the conditions that you would have while you're on trail. So if it's going to be wintry cold conditions, go in your local area and go and find conditions that are similar to that, and test that gear and go through each piece of that gear. And then when you're done, go through that gear. Did I use this particular item? Maybe it was too much, or maybe I needed more, whatever. And I'll give you some examples there. I even go so far as to buy little, I know that bug spray, for example, the little plastic bottles or whatever they give you, they're pretty heavy. I mean, they add up. They're pretty heavy. An ounce here, an ounce there, a pound here, a pound there. So I trim everything down. I have sunblock. I put it in a tiny, tiny little Nalgene bottle, and it lasts a month. And I'd rather have that tiny little thing than a big bottle that you buy in the store, or a tube or whatever. Same with bug spray. Same with all kinds of things, hand sanitizer. I was hanging hand sanitizer off my strap, but then I weighed it and realized it weighs like 2.5 ounces. Now it's in a tiny little Nalgene bottle, like a travel kit bottle that you can buy at the pharmacy for $1. And yeah, I mean, I've saved so much weight that way. Stuff sacks, don't use them. Simple. Just don't use them. You don't need to. Use a liner in your pack rather than a bunch of little stuff sacks. Those stuff sacks most of the time are not waterproof anyways. They're not going to help you. But I can promise you a trash compactor bag or a Nyla fume liner will. Put all your dry stuff, put it down at the bottom, and then it's okay if you have something a little damp at the top, that's fine, or your food or whatever. Try to keep your wet stuff outside of your pack so you can dry it as you're going. Also, camp shoes. Make sure you have good camp shoes. You're going to want to get out of your hiking shoes as soon as possible getting to camp. There's a variety of different options available. I use Crocs. There's Tevas. There's a million out there. It's personal preference. It's like underwear. But definitely have some camp shoes. Definitely set up everything as you're going to use it. So my night clothes and so on, they'll be at the very bottom of my pack simply because I won't use them. So set your pack up. Set everything up so that you save the most time. Time is the biggest asset that you have when you're on trail and you're through hiking. It's all about time. It doesn't matter how fast you hike, it's how long you hike. And if you have to stop all the time because you didn't set your pack up properly, and you're constantly having to stop, take the pack off and rearrange something or get something out of your pack, put something back in it, this all takes time. Time is the greatest commodity you have on trail. So streamline everything. This is why I mentioned it with the cooking as well. Cold soaking and or alcohol stoves take a lot longer. You know, this is why a lot of the people, it's a balancing act. They trade it off. They'll carry a little extra weight for a stove because they know they can boil water in 2 minutes and be done and be into bed and ready to go the next morning. So it is really a balancing act, but do trim wherever you can. Do streamline what's in your pack. Don't buy the pack until you've got all the gear laid out, and then buy the pack for the size of what you're going to need. Even toothpaste and so on. I buy little tiny tubes of toothpaste, and sometimes I even split those with other people, or there's these little adapters you can put on to just fill up a little tiny thing of toothpaste. Some people use toothpaste tablets. These are all wonderful ideas to lighten your load, to allow you to, you know, basically it's a walk in the park as opposed to carrying, you know, a bear on your back. So that's really important. Towns, intervals. Different trails afford the luxury of different intervals. On the Appalachian Trail, for example, you can go 5 miles and be off trail anytime you want. Pretty much. There's very, very seldom, maybe the 100-mile wilderness, where you can't just jump off and bail. But on the AT, for example, you can. On the PCT, you can't. You have sections where you go through and it's 130 miles. There's no way in or out. Once you're on trail, that's it. You're either going to the other end or you're coming back. So know where your towns are. Plan for your towns. You know, it depends on what you're comfortable with, but having a regular interval that you're comfortable with to go to towns. Some people like to go 7-8 days, you know, between towns, and maybe they have enough battery power to charge their phones, to keep their phones going, or the Garmin's or whatever. Other people like to jump off a lot, you know, every 2 or 3 days, and then they travel super light. You have to decide what your hiking style is for you, how you want to basically hike your own hike. It's important. And same with people, you know, don't be around people that don't hike in your style. But do know exactly what your style is so that you can plan on which towns to go to, maybe which hostels to go to. If you did check Yogi's guide or you did check AWOL's guide, if you're going on one of those 2 trails, for example, then do check those and make sure and have a plan. You really need to have a plan before you go out, and be adaptable if that plan goes south on you, because believe me, it will. There's no question about it. Send yourself boxes. A lot of people, you know, during their planning, they will put together food drops. They'll put together gear drops. They know that, you know, depending on who you are, I only get around 400 miles out of a pair of shoes. So I like to space them out and send those shoes if I can, or if it's somewhere where I know I can get to an outfitter really easy to get shoes, then I don't worry about that too much. But do allow yourself to send gear back and forth to be able to pick up boxes if you can. Use it if you can, basically. The other thing about boxes, if you are going to send them, at least in the US, the post offices, if you send to a post office, number one, they won't accept from FedEx or some other couriers. So be careful about that, how you send your packages. And number two, another important thing about that is that post offices will only hold packages for a limited period of time. My general experience has been around 2 to 4 weeks. They'll hold your package for you. I have a better idea for you. Find hostels. Find other places that you can send your boxes or your gear or whatever. And that way you don't have to worry that, you're not on time. You're not there when you really need to be there or when you plan to be there. Things happen. You may have to take a day off here and there. Maybe you got hurt. The problem with that, with having everything so strict going down the line, is that once you're out of position, you're always out of position. So like if you had 6 boxes up the trail, by the time you get down to the end of the trail, that box may have been sitting there for 6 weeks, right? And so if you sent it to a post office and they don't hold on to it for more than, say, 30 days, for an example, they'll send it back and you're kind of SOL. You're sitting there scrambling, trying to figure out what to do. And you don't want surprises if you don't need to. So always try to use hostels to send your boxes to, if you can. This is something that's more later, like once you're actually on the trail. A tramley. Tramley is really, really helpful. Tramley can help cover costs with you. If you go into town, there isn't a hostel, and you go to a hotel, you can split motels or hotels. You can even split food. Like we go and buy a thing of toilet paper. Where are you going to buy 1 roll of toilet paper? It's pretty hard to do that. It's usually 2 or 4 or 8 or whatever. So we go buy 4 and then just give each person a roll of toilet paper. So trail families, are really helpful that way. Plus just the camaraderie of having them with you. It's a lot of fun. We played games on trail. We'd call out different things, alphabet game, this and that, things to kind of break the monotony and keep things interesting, but also to have a partner in crime, to have somebody that's in your corner, that has your back and can help you if you need to. And same with you with them, whether it's an injury, whether it's, having to stop. I mean, I've stopped for days at a time because a member of my family was in trouble or needed to go get medical attention, or just needed to go off for a couple days. Maybe somebody was coming into town to meet them or something along that line. You have to be flexible. But having a tramley is better than, there's more good things about it than there are bad things. So do consider that. Don't go out there with the idea that you have to have one. You can certainly do it alone. But, on a through hike, these friendships will last forever. These bonds will last forever. And hikers are a different breed. They're definitely, in my opinion, a cut above. They go far over and beyond what a more conventional friendship would be. Because, hey, I mean, they've gone through thick and thin with you. You basically live together. So choose your tramley wisely is really all I'm kind of getting at. Food. 4-letter word. Food. Here's my key phrase on food. Send more. Always send more. Hiker hunger will set in. You will be absolutely amazed. You will be shocked at how much you can eat and not gain weight, or in fact lose weight. Bring more food. If you're going to send more food, if you're sending boxes, don't forget to leave yourself enough. It's better to have too much than not enough. And I say this with tongue in cheek, but it's actually true. Hikers can eat. I mean, they'll eat you out of house and home if you let them. So bring food. Always have safety. Should you bring a satellite communicator? Should you bring or use some kind of device to let your loved ones know that you're okay? That's something you have to decide. There are a variety of electronic devices, satellite communicators, Garmin, Zoleo, Spot, the list goes on, that you can use to contact people, even though you may not have cell signal. Even the new iPhones, the 14, 15, they have very limited capability, mind you, but they do have SOS that bypasses cell towers, goes straight to the satellite. In the case of an emergency, yeah, I mean, that would be something you could use. I use a Garmin InReach Mini. It's very light. There is a subscription cost involved, But if I'm hiking alone, it gives me peace of mind. It gives me some comfort. It's just that extra layer of safety, of stability on the hike. You know, the less you have to worry about while you're out there, the better. Am I telling you to go out and buy one of them? No, I'm not. I mean, that's up to you. You have to decide for yourself what you're comfortable with. But for me, I do, especially as a female and solo, I find it's very helpful to have some kind of satellite communicator in case I run into some kind of trouble. And then I can always hit the oh bleep button. Okay, moving on to some tips while you're on the trail. If you've never hiked a through hike before, be kind. Be kind to yourself. Understand that there's a lot of people out on the web and everywhere talking about how they're going out and doing 40, 50 miles a day. But you just don't see it. You don't know how it's even possible. Understand that everybody's different. You are not a failure if you don't go out and get into this grind. Sometimes we get too competitive. Humans are a very competitive species. Yeah, so you know, if you go out at the beginning of your hike, do not push yourself. Let yourself acclimate to the trail. This is a big mistake I watch, especially young people. They see some videos and they see some big YouTube star going out and they're doing like 40, 50 miles a day. They had to work up to that 40 or 50 miles. Trust me, they didn't just come right out of the gate and do that. In the first 200 or 300 miles, that's when most of the people on trail drop off trail due to injury because they've overexerted themselves. They didn't listen to their body. I'm not trying to sound critical. I'm not saying that it happens with everybody. It doesn't. But I can promise you that in the first 400 or 500 miles of a through hike, half of them are gone. There's a reason for that. And so when I went out, for example, on the PCT, okay, it was a half day, so I only did 4 miles, but I was doing like 8 miles, 9 miles for the first week or two, you know, and then I might have stepped it up to 10 miles or 11 miles. Then, you know, if you just go down, cut to the chase and get down to the end, you know, within a couple of months, you'll be doing 15 or 20. And you have to find your comfort zone. Listen to your body. Avoid injury. If you have to take a day off, take a day off. Because if you injure yourself and it ends up being serious, then what? What did you gain? You gain nothing. You know, hiking that extra 5 miles a day got you nothing if you don't finish. The slowpoke wins the race. I mean, and hiking is the same thing, the exact same thing. It took me 6.5 months, almost 7 months to hike the AT. I started off very slow. I came off the PCT. I broke my foot. I had to come off for 2 months. There's no shame in that. Don't be competitive when you're out there. Listen to your body. Allow yourself rest and relaxation, and keep everything as stress-free as you can when you're out there. So, you know, if all these other things that we talked about are taken care of, your food is good, your accommodations are good, your finances are good, then you shouldn't have to worry about anything else. Injury a lot of time is just stress, internal stress. So again, just, you know, you want to enjoy the hike. So pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to compete with other people is not going to make you happy. It's going to make you miserable. You're going to be constantly chasing this proverbial carrot. And also you want to stop and smell the roses. I mean, you want to see the trail. Sometimes hiking, doing massive miles, does you nothing except give you the right to say, I did the trail. I'm going back to the AT in a few years to go slower and just do sections and really kind of soak it in and enjoy it a little more than I did when I first went out. I've learned a lot since then. That's why I'm telling you this. And again, don't judge other people for the way they hike. Hike your own hike. That's the bottom line. And so whatever you want to get out of that hike is really all that should matter to you. So if it's going slow, if it's stopping in every town, platinum blazing and going into hotels, so what? That's what you do. That's great. Nobody's going to judge you for that. Finances. Hiking's not cheap. I'm just going to say that right now. How much does a hike cost? How do I prepare for that cost? Do I have to quit my job? you know, these are all very, very personal questions. These are all questions that only you can answer. I can't answer those for you. I can, however, tell you that for me personally, I spent around $1,500 a month, $1,600 a month on hiking. I was a little extravagant at the beginning. I was a bit new and I didn't really know as much as I know now about it. Things don't have to be that expensive. Again, if you're splitting the costs with a tramily, that helps. But knowing that it's going to be that it's going to cost a little bit of money, and wanting to go the distance and wanting to finish that trail and or finish what you set out to accomplish at the beginning is important, you know. And if you can't do it all in 1 year, that's fine too, like financially. Hiking's not cheap. The gear's not cheap. The accommodations are not cheap. You know, you have to buy food. You're going to have to pay for shuttles. You may have to split on hotels if there's no hostels around. Hostels are the best way to go, by the way, for that. You may have to buy Ubers. You know, we've taken buses, Ubers, hitchhiking, different modes of transportation. These all cost money. I mean, somebody wants $100 to drive you 20 miles in a shuttle. What are you going to do? You know, you got a tramily, 4 of you spend $25, you split it, you go into town. But these are costs that'll come up that you may not be planning for at the beginning. You may think, well, it's just as easy as, you know, getting to a highway, hitching into town, and I'll get a hitch. Well, you don't always get a hitch. You know, so I mean, you have to kind of allow for that with your finances. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Hiking is not cheap. It can be very expensive. But if you do a few things, you can make it cheaper. Oftentimes we'd go into a town and there'd be free camping. So we would obviously go to those spots and camp and then do our laundry and whatever. Saving money by putting all your laundry into one load, because I don't carry enough in my pack to justify an entire load of wash. So 4 of us would literally put all our clothes together and wash them together and save money that way. Like I alluded to earlier with the toilet paper and so on at the stores, you know, you can split costs that way. Maybe you bought some sunscreen and you give a little bit to each person in your tramily. These are other ways to save money. Always look around, you know, use coupons, use Groupon, rely on those trail angels. Trail angels are, and I'll get into that in a second, but they're also a very huge source of savings and help in their knowledge, etc. Which leads me into trail angels. The greatest asset on trail are trail angels. We love trail angels. And one day when I grow up, I want to be a trail angel. So what a trail angel is somebody who's on trail, who's either hiked that trail or just wants to help hikers in any way they can. And they come in all shapes and sizes. So you may find a trail angel that is just stops at the side of the road. For example, I've come down off mountains and just seen a van there and somebody there with a barbecue and a cooler, and you know, you get in there and they give you a beer, they give you a hamburger, hot dog, whatever, chips, soda, whatever suits you. You know, these people are the salt of the earth. They're amazing and I love them. And they show up in the strangest places sometimes. Trail angels also give you rides on the PCT. I don't know why they do that. We call them either shuttle drivers or trail angels, but I guess on the PCT it's a little different. Trail angels encompass all of it. I stayed at trail angels' houses, you know, so they're the best. They'll come and pick you up sometimes from the trail. They'll take you around on trail. They have knowledge that you can use. If they're in a particular area, they know that area. They can help you find, whether it's an outfitter, whether it's food places, whether it's hostels like accommodations, whether it's medical. Trail angels are the best. They're locals and they are a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information, and you shouldn't ignore them. They're there for a reason and they're wonderful people. Just the fact that they're doing what they're doing it just tells you that they're the most sincere, genuine, authentic people you're ever going to meet. And I'm giving a big shout out, a big thumb up, because I love you all. I've made some lasting friendships with trail angels. They're just wonderful people. So do get in touch with the ones that you can find and use these guides like AWOLs or yogis or whatever, and do connect. Do connect with people. Trail angels also do support them. If they're driving their vehicle and they're coming to get you, do offer them a little bit. If you were going to spend 50, 60 bucks on an Uber anyways, then hey, shooting this guy 20 bucks for gas or for the wear and tear on his vehicle or her vehicle is a nice gesture. I'm not saying you've got to. A lot of times they'll just refuse it anyways, but I guess I just wanted to elaborate more on the trail angel thing and kind of set the tone for saying, don't take advantage of the trail angels just because they're there. They still do incur costs, sometimes a lot of costs. So we appreciate them. I appreciate them for sure. Prepare for hygiene on the trail. Be very careful about hygiene. Norovirus, Giardia, these are all very real. These things happen, and they happen a lot. More than you think. And so hygiene, make sure you always have hand sanitizer on trail. Use it every day diligently, especially if you're digging cat holes and so on. You know the drill. I don't have to tell you about that. But I just need to stress that point, that always have sanitizer on hand or soap or whatever it is you use, even if it's toothpaste tablets. Like, if you want to wear deodorant, I wouldn't. I mean, I have, but I haven't lately. But just make sure that you're not to the point where you're risking getting ill, from making bad decisions or trying to stay ultralight. Staying ultralight's great to a point, but I still bring wet wipes with me. I still use them. I wipe down my hands, my body. I get rid of whatever I can, whatever dirt, whatever. I mean, you're out there all the time. You're out there for 6 months, and you may have a week before you get into the next town. So making sure that you don't put your hands in your mouth after you've put your hands in water that you don't know what's in it. There could be cryptosporidium, there could be E. coli. You don't know. You just don't know. So be careful. Hygiene, staying clean and staying germ-free is very important. Keeps you happy, keeps you out of the hospital, and it's very important on a through hike. Hygiene. Loneliness. Understand that you're going to be lonely on trail and make plans for that. Maybe set a night of the week where you do a video call with somebody, or you're in a town, and do work on that aspect of your life. Human contact, human touch. It's very important. Again, especially when you're out there for as long as you could be, 6, 7 months, depends on where you're hiking, what you're doing. Having loved ones around you and or at least in contact with you is important. It's important. It's important for your health. It's important for your happiness, your enjoyment. This is a big thing in your life. A through hike is no small task. What you're doing is monumental. Like the fact that you're considering doing it, the fact that you're even here right now watching this and got this far in means that you're serious about hiking and you really want to do it. And so the proper planning, preparation is very important, but also enjoying it, being happy, making sure that you don't disrupt your entire world and everybody in it for your hike. Get the help that you can get, but also just stay in touch with those people. And if that's what you really need. Some people don't need it. They can just be alone like forever and it doesn't matter. But others, like I like to keep in contact with my people. I like to let them know I'm safe. I like to let them know I'm happy, that everything's going well. These are all, important parts of making this trip a long-lasting, important, memorable experience for you. Record everything. Catalog your trip. Whether it's writing it down, whether it's whether it's, putting it on your phone, whether it's doing videos, pictures. This is, like I said, a huge, huge undertaking that you're going to get involved in. And you're going to want to remember this for years to come. So whether it's your phone, whatever it is that you enjoy. A lot of people bring journals and they write every night while they're in their tent, describing the day that they've had. Others like to record it on their phones and send pictures to family and so on, or put it on social media. These are all great ideas. Share your experience with other people. There's a lot of other people that don't have the luxury you have, that don't have the time to dedicate to getting out there, and they live through you vicariously. Maybe they want to see those pictures. There's all kinds, for every single person that's out there hiking, I guarantee you there's 10 others that would love to be in your shoes and love to be there and would love to take part in your journey and enjoy your journey. And so do document your journey. So journaling, dates, times, people, phone numbers, addresses. I keep it all. I'm in touch with so many people, and I've made amazing friends that I hope to be friends with for many years to come. And number one, enjoy it. This is the biggest tip of all. Don't stress the little things. Just get out there. Once you're out on trail, everything else disappears. It's magic. It's just pure magic. And once you're out there for, it's different for everybody. I would say a month or two, the fabric of your being will change. You will become a different person. You will become a better person, I think. And yeah, just enjoy it. Anyways, I hope what I said helped you a little bit to plan and give you some ideas about some of the different things that you're going to have to deal with without being too specific to your particular case. Especially gear. There's no way that I could possibly get that deep into all of these things. These are little tips, whether it's food, whether it's gear, whether it's accommodations, whether it's your health, whether it's your finances. These are all things that you need to prepare for on your trip. You need to consider all of them. Reach out, go to Facebook groups, go to whatever social media chat rooms, go to Discord. There's a lot of Discord servers with hiking groups, especially specific to the hike you're taking. So whether it's a long distance hike or just a local shorter hike, it doesn't really matter. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, a wealth of information. So do prepare. The more you prepare now, the better your experience will be on trail. Anyways, I'm sorry it was a long one, but I'm checking out. Let's go get it.